Hello, everybody. This is Eliakim coming back with another powerful episode of Shiurim by the Sea. Today, we are going to dive into 8 legendary, eternal quotes by the Kotzker Rebbe. Probably my most favorite of all the Hasidic Rebbes. Just timeless wisdom. We're going to delve into that. This episode is sponsored by my dear friend Lisa, who started keeping Shabbos because of these lectures. And she always sponsors a lecture for either a friend or a family member, living or deceased. This one, and this is going to tie into the lecture, so I want people to pay attention to this. She's sponsoring this for her beloved cousin, David. David had schizophrenia. I have a cousin's cousin who has schizophrenia. Just the sadness of watching someone that you know isn't mentally all there. I mean, that's very traumatic. She said, I remember at my brother's bar mitzvah party, David just stood near the light watching the kids dance. He was too shy to dance. He was a brilliant chess player. He was so bright, was accepted to the engineering department at the University of Toronto, and he had one friend. He had to drop out because socially he could not cope. This is just something that's very sad. Then she goes on to say that after Lisa made Aliyah in 1978, they got a sudden telegram as they were leaving a restaurant that David had died. But he didn't just die. He committed suicide. He bought a hunting gun. He waited till his mother got home, and as she passed his bedroom door and called out his name, he shot himself in front of the aunt. I got a call from a friend this morning who just said, "Are you up?" And it was like 6:30, and unfortunately, I wasn't. Not unfortunately that I could talk to him, but I remember the days of sleeping until like 3 o'clock. Those days, no more. So I was up, and I knew that it was something important if my friend, had messaged me, and he's having a health scare. The fear is cancer, and just there's so much sadness and adversity and trauma and life, and I feel like people are losing hope. They're losing grasp of what really matters in this world, and also who is the only one that we can depend on in this world. So I decided to do these 8 legendary quotes from the Kotzker Rebbe. The Kotzker Rebbe himself was also very fascinating. He was legendarily reclusive. He was a Serbic leader of Polish Hasidic Jewry. He never wished to become a leader of the masses. He shied away from fame. Yet more and more people flocked to him because of that. He was so brilliant. He was so deep. He was so insightful. And he, more than maybe any other rabbi of the past, maybe 1,000 years, just embodied truth. He never published any works. In fact, he had so many manuscripts right before he died, he burned them all. Several collections of his sayings have been published, most notably by his students. He was born to a non-Hasidic family. He became attracted to the Hasidic philosophy in his youth. Very brilliant in the Talmud, Kabbalah. He was a student of Rabbi of Pesicha. And upon the latter's death, attracted many of his followers. He was known for his sharp wit and for little patience for stupidity or false piety. Maybe this is why I love him so much. From 1839, for the last 20 years of his life, he lived in seclusion. You don't really hear this much about Hasidic Rebbes, that they just dipped out in the world and lived in seclusion. He had little patience for false piety or for stupidity. And you see a lot of this in this world today. So again, I'm talking to my friend this morning, and just the fear and the sadness and the what ifs were palpable. I have another friend who, told me last week, my business has never been better. He's just crushing it, but his cancer is growing. I lost my wife a few months ago. I would like to have a wife again. People that have a spouse right now, they don't have kids. Everyone in life is in their head lacking, right? They are missing something. There is something that they think, okay, if I had this, my life would be so much better. When in reality, Hashem is telling you, He is, like everything now is crafted, like custom crafted. My friend owns a restaurant, and it's like craft sandwiches, custom crafted sandwiches. Everything is, craft beer. Everything is craft now. Everything is like specialized. Well, you are craft, whatever your name is. Your name's Yonatan. You are craft Yonatan. Hashem has made you exactly how you're supposed to be, and whatever is going on in your life now, whatever your matzav is in your life right now, Hashem wants you to be there, whether you want to or not. You might have just gotten fired. You're very bitter. Where's Hashem? Where's Hashem? And then you struggle for 4 months to find a job, and then all of a sudden you find the best job ever with 3 times more pay than you were making before and less hours. Was it worth getting fired? Yes. So everything in life is, yes, some things in your life right now are punishments. Some things are rewards. You got fired because Hashem has a much better plan for you. The whole purpose and path that we need to take is, if we know, like the Kotzker Rebbe, more than almost anyone maybe in history, knew the reality of the world, and he had such little tolerance for people that didn't, sometimes. When 2 plus 2 equals 4, to such an extent in your head that you live by that, and now you see in modern times, people are trying to claim it's 5, they're trying to claim 2 plus 2 equals 4 is racist. He just couldn't, he became a recluse for the last 20 years of his life. I didn't delve into the whole thing, it's not relevant for this. We want to talk about just 8 really special comments. And when you hear these quotes, you might think this sounds so easy and logical and rational, yet people will spend the rest of their lives and they will never truly be able to grasp what he's saying unless you do exactly what he did. You have to live by the truth. If you live with a reality that God created me perfect for my purpose, for my tikkun, for my destiny in this world, and every little second and memory and bump along the way is for the good and for a purpose, and I can grow through this, then you'll be much better off in life. There's no words to say to someone that, thinks potentially they might have cancer. What words can you, oh man, Hashem does everything for the good, pat him on the back and, go along your way. We're not wired like that. We're not the Kotzker Rebbe, where that's just, okay, big deal. What do they ask him right as he was about to die, close to his death? What do you say? That's nothing. Death was going from one room to a much better room. That's all he said. That's how easy life was for him. Yet you see, he also had his challenges. I mean, most people don't live in seclusion unless there's something going on in life. Maybe he just couldn't tolerate people anymore. He might have been on such a level that he was so just, out of the box for his generation. He couldn't tolerate him. I don't know. I don't know the Kotzker Rebbe. But I do know that these quotes will change your life. That's what I do know. And I do know that to change life, the first thing is just a desire to do so. I mean, so many people are just stuck. I spent the first, I'd say maybe from age 17 to 27 of my life, just stuck. I knew all the potential I had. I knew all my strong suits. I knew clear that I was meant for more than just doing coke binges, working, running a baby furniture, franchise with my family, coming home and just rinse, wash, repeat. I knew there had to be something more. Just like this cup, like this glass, this bottle, clearly created for a purpose. To think that we were just put in this world and just Hashem leaves us to our, desires and there's no path we're supposed to take. There's no guidebook. There's no guidance. There's no help from Hashem. It's a sad way to live. There's a reason why depression and suicide are so up. People have no self-worth. They have no ability to understand that if you are living and breathing in this world right now, you are critical to the world. Most people focus on all the things they don't have. It's just like in Judaism. They focus on Shabbos. It's all the things you can't do. Oh, I don't have this. My friend just got a better job. I've been working so hard to get a better job. I don't have this. I'm not as healthy as I want. I'm not as thin as I want. I'm not as attractive as I want. Never focusing on all the things that they do have. The first step to wanting to change your life is just a desire to say, you know what? I'm not living life correctly. Would Hashem say that I'm living life correctly? Would even the Kotzker Rebbe say that I'm living life correctly? The answer for all of us, I'm sure, is no. The goal of this lecture is to give you some tips through these quotes that are just, these quotes are timeless. There's no other Hasidic Rebbe that I know that if you Google, Kotzker Rebbe quotes, there's websites literally dedicated to his quotes. They're so powerful because they're so obvious, and that's how he lived. He embodied truth, truth, Emes, as Hashem's seal. The Kotzker Rebbe lived with a reality of truth. He did not deviate from that. Let's dive in. These are really, really special. This website had 50. I went through. I picked 8. And why did I pick 8? Because 8's eternity, right? We do a lot of things 7 and 10 in these shows. The first one I think I've ever done that's 8. Because if you can truly internalize these and you can base your life on these quotes and you can change your life through these quotes, you will probably merit the afterworld. You will go to the better room, as the Kotzker Rebbe says. Okay, number 1. Again, all these quotes seem very, very obvious. I'd highly recommend watching the lecture again. You will not only see that these quotes are not obvious, you'll probably see how far you are away. And trust me, I'm speaking from myself because, selfishly, I do a lot of this just for me because I go back and I watch every one of my episodes at least once. And, it's hard to say stuff and encourage people to do things and then not do it yourself. So selfishly, a lot of this is for me and for my own growth. So I pick quotes that as I'm reading them, I think, well, duh. And then, well, you know what? I'm not always living this way. This will probably help other people. Quote number 1. I start off with a bang and I end with a bang. So 1 and 8 are very, very powerful. Where is God? Wherever he is allowed in. Where is God? Wherever he is allowed in. And you'll say, of course, God's everywhere. Again, where is God? Where is God right now in your life? Wherever he is allowed in. So what did I tell my friend today? I told him, bro, when I met you, you were filled with simcha. There's no such thing as like happiness, like fun in Judaism. All the words have a meaning. Simcha. Simcha is like an inner joy. No one in my life other than this friend, like when musicians jam, like you have these 2 famous musicians and they get in a room and they just, like one of them starts and then like 10 hours later, they've just created, in my limited knowledge of music, there's the Traveling Wilburys, right? It's like Tom Petty, Roy Orbison, George Harrison, and Bob Dylan, right? 4 legends. Well, they created a supergroup called Traveling Wilburys. They just probably got together one day or like met somewhere and just realized, wow, we could create. So when my friend and I start talking, we'll go for hours and it's just one continuous life discussion. There's no one else in my life that I have this bond with. So I'm just letting him talk today, and he's just telling me things, and that he's just angry, he's bitter, he's frustrated. And I said, but this isn't you. This isn't you. I mean, you're bitter and frustrated because you're not being you. Everyone always says, do you. Like, do you, they say. He's not being himself. This guy walks into a room and just the positive energy just, bursts. There's people that have this power. They walk into a room, people notice. His smile, he's just filled with simcha. I told him, you need to get that back. You're not being yourself. When people aren't being themselves, when they're knocked off course, when they're off kilter, everything else suffers. They just start to break down one by one. Things that didn't used to bother them are now the number one issues in life. The patience they used to have is now gone. The drive, the determination, the hope they had becomes lessened until it's just shattered. I told him, you need to get back to yourself. And you were so besimcha before because of your relationship with Hashem. I don't know many people that have a relationship with Hashem like my friend has. So I told him, I'm literally doing a shir today on the Kotzker Rebbe. Where's God? He's not allowing Hashem in. Why is it one of the reasons people don't let Hashem in? Is because once they do, they're forced to change. And a lot of people are just lazy and they get complacent and they're just happy with their station. When you truly let Hashem in, when you truly delve into the Torah and realize how far you have to go and, that your relationship can always grow and grow and you have to put forth the effort, it makes a lot of people say, I'm mad at Hashem, I'll just put him to the side. I'll deal with this one myself, Hashem. It's like the famous story where the guy, religious guy is going through the parking lot and he says, Hashem, I'm late. I need a parking space so bad. And then all of a sudden a parking space opens up and he says, don't worry, Hashem, I've got it. Hashem is wherever you want him to be. I mean, you're on the bus, you're in the car. Talk to him. He's your father. He's your boss. He's your teacher. I mean, when you have a problem, have you ever gone to your parents? Because if you haven't, that's sad. I feel bad for you. Have you ever been able to go to a rabbi or to a boss and just say, look, this is a problem. You could talk to Hashem. He's right over my shoulder. He's in front. He's everywhere. He created you and then what? Just dipped out of your life and you're irrelevant to him? No, you're all that matters right now to him. Hashem can multitask. He can talk to multiple people at the same time. You have a problem. You have an angst in life. You're wondering what to do. You could just talk to God. Yeah, he's not going to talk back, but he might open your eyes. He might illuminate you to the decision that you should make. He might send someone to your life that will help you in this area. He's there for you. Why are you not letting him in? You think it's normal that the creator of anything just doesn't care? I mean, yeah, a water bottle is not such a... The guy who painted this picture that I love, I've always loved this picture. Probably took a lot of time to paint this. Hashem just creates you 100 trillion things in your brain, millions of things in your eye, gives you all the craft characteristics just for you, and then doesn't care? What kind of a sad life is that? Where is God? Wherever you want him to be. Like the commercial, what was it? Like Visa or Amex, something like that. Where you need us to be, or one of those stupid slogans. But in this case, how can you not let Hashem into your life? I mean, why would you want to do things on your own? Hashem says so many times. Every Thursday, I say the same thing. Every Thursday we read, the Shir Shel Yom, the bracha for the day, and in this one, it's from Tehillim. Lu ami shomei li. If only my people would listen to me. Meaning, if only they would just... I told them so many times, if you just follow in my ways and adhere to my Torah, I will destroy all your enemies, all your everything. Hashem has no other desire than to see us grow, perfect ourselves, but we cannot do it alone. We do not have the tools, we do not have the knowledge, we do not have the insight. We all need help. That's the first step. Oh, he's an alcoholic. The first step is admitting that he needs help. We need help in life. It doesn't matter how successful your life is. There's something you could be doing much, much better. There's only one person, and he's not even a person, that can help you. Hashem. Let him in. Whatever your problem is, talk to Hashem. People waste thousands of dollars going to these shrinks. These disgusting liberal left-wing shrinks, in most cases, give them the most terrible advice. You ever talk to God? You ever asked him, Hashem, I'm just stuck right here. Maybe you could help. Maybe just talking with you would be better. God dwells wherever you let him in. This suggests that Hashem's presence is not limited to specific locations or objects, but depends on a willingness to acknowledge and to invite him into our lives and into our hearts. This emphasizes the importance of a spiritual connection and an openness to experiencing Hashem's presence. Very wealthy people tend to push Hashem away. A lot of times, very poor people also tend to push Hashem away because of bitterness and everything in between. I remember after we had a miscarriage, the first time my wife was pregnant. I was young. And it was the only time in my life I just remember just crying. Couldn't stop. Just sat on the couch, just could not stop crying. My wife came over, put her arm around me and said, everything Hashem does is for the good. You'll see that this will turn out just fine. And immediately I stopped. At that point, I said, you know what? I have to put my money where my mouth is. I can't be doing kiruv. I can't be telling people that you need to X and X. And then, this happens and it was devastating. And it still is devastating. But at some point you have to realize, okay, Hashem, I don't get it. Certainly this isn't the outcome I would have liked, but it's not going to knock me off my path. God willing. It's a lifetime of, I had a friend message me on Friday. Just an awesome, solid guy. Has lots of health issues. He was divorced earlier on in life. He's older than me now, and he basically said, I feel like my window has closed of ever finding someone, of ever having kids. He said, so if, say, a Russian girl or whatever, not Jewish, comes and says, why can't I marry her? Why can't I be with her? I wrote back, I said, the fact that you would even, write that, you already know the answer. So I'm not even going to give you, I said, I'm not even going to give you the answer because you already know the answer. You're not, as a religious Jew. You already know the answer. And I said, he's been dealt an unfortunate hand right now, and he's got very serious health issues. So imagine from a realistic perspective, what girl would want to, be immersed in these health issues? And then you'll find someone like Yigal Amir, who, solitary confinement, got married, has kids. Rabbi Mizrahi always talks about this paralyzed from the head down. He asked Rabbi Mizrahi for a bracha. Rabbi Mizrahi reluctantly gave him a bracha, live on a YouTube video or whatever. A little while later, he married just an awesome girl, attractive. Where's Hashem? We let him in. If you think that something is too hard for Hashem, what incentive does Hashem have to do it? If you say, Hashem, you know what? Look for my life. I'm 45. I'm a Kohen, meaning I can't marry a lot of girls. Can't marry a divorcee. Can't marry a girl that's ever been with a non-Jew. Baruch Hashem, b'li hara, I have a child. So I went on a dating site a month ago to just see, this is not anywhere where I'd like to be right now currently. I was hoping that the first marriage would be the only one. And I see a lot of the girls, no kids, please, no kids. No kids. I get it. They don't want that matzah, but do I just give up? Do I say, yeah, the odds theoretically are stacked a little bit, less in my favor, considering age, that I'm a Kohen, child, all these different things. Who cares? Who cares? If Hashem wants it to happen, and you do your utmost to make it happen, you daven, you give tzedakah, you say, Hashem, you know what? You can do anything. So I'm just going to do my part, and I hope that you do yours. That's it. That's all that we can do in this world. Hashem is anywhere that you would like him to be. And you should like him to be involved, intricately involved in every single aspect of your day and in your life. Number 2, when people ask me what not to do, Kotzker Rebbe says, I can tell them. But to know what they should do, that's something they need to ask themselves. This is a great one. When people ask me what not to do, I can tell them. But to know what they should do, that's something they need to ask themselves. When my friend messaged me and said, so some, Australian girl says, you know what, you're perfect for me, I don't care about your health. No, I told them, you can't do that. It doesn't matter what your situation is. You can't just break the Torah. So, yeah, it was very easy for me to tell him what he can't do. To tell him what he should do. To tell him all the things to work on. Yeah, that's hard because I'm not in his shoes. He's in his shoes. People give me advice sometimes, and that's great, and I appreciate it. But they're not in my shoes. They don't know the specific details, different things in the past, things I'm hoping for in the future. It's easy to dispense advice. But specifically, it's very easy to tell people what not to do, especially in the Torah realm. I mean, a lot of times that's very easy. To tell people what they should do, that needs to come from within. Everything in this world needs to come from within. We talked about a lot the last few lectures about the fear of Hashem, right? That the fear of Hashem is the first step. But I keep saying, how do you get into that's the lobby, right? And then when you're in a high-rise office building and you want to get to the 80th floor, you have to go through the lobby and then you have to get to the elevator. But how do you get into the building? You go through those nice little, spinny doors. How do you get into the spinny door? You have to humble yourself. Humility is literally the first step. What should people do? That's hard. Again, Hashem custom crafted everyone's life just for them. You can dispense advice. You can certainly tell people the pitfalls. What they should be doing, what they should be diving into, that's something that the person not only has to decide for themselves, they have to push themselves in that direction. If I could, everyone around me would be an observant Jew. If I could force people to do what is clearly right in the world, it's clearly what Hashem wants us to do, I would have everyone do that, but I can't. Certainly I can tell people, you're not really supposed to eat pork on Saturday while driving in the car to synagogue. That's not something that you should do. What should you be doing? That's something for you to decide. We can always give help. We can always, dispense advice or give look, in my situation, this work, but we're all crafted differently. We're all, tailor-made. This suit's not going to fit anyone else in the world, just like it's going to fit me. We were created for a reason and for a purpose. The easy part in the world is figuring out what to stay away from. The harder part is figuring out what to do, So I told my friend today, you used to embody simcha. You need to stay away from the things that, all the things that you've been complaining to me about for the last 2 years. These are things that just keep knocking you away from these stressful situations he tells about, different things that are going on at work. These are things he needs to, I can't get him back into the mode of, being Captain Simcha. He has to do that. I can tell him clearly these things seem like they're very harmful for you. But I can't push him back on that road. It's something that he has to do himself. And he ended that phone conversation today. He was very, very happy. He said, you helped me so much. Talking is just, sometimes talking to another person is just very helpful. But even more helpful is probably talking to Hashem. Because in the end, that little, soul inside of you knows what the right thing to do is. People need to tap into themselves and figure out what they want in life before anything else. If what you're comfortable in life is working your 8 hours, coming home and watching the new Netflix series, that's a sad way to live. You are never going to achieve your purpose, your destiny, and you're certainly never going to have true inner joy. Number 3. This one is just... And anytime you look up like Kotzker Rebbe quotes, sometimes it's like top 5, top 50, whatever. This one's almost always, I think probably is always in there. This one is just, I've never wanted to serve a God whose ways would be understandable to mere mortals. Mere mortals. Again, I've never wanted to serve a God whose ways would be understandable to mere mortals. Meaning, like Christians serve a God that, literally couldn't even save himself. He died on a cross begging God for help. Just from like I would never want to serve, and if you're watching this and you're Christian, just, and my personal, forget about just religion and the Torah, and I'm just saying, I would never want to serve a God that, was a mere mortal. That's not the God that I want to serve. I want to serve a God who, how in the world did you make over 100 trillion connections in the brain so that even if one of them is off or a blood, vessel burst, the person just, do you realize how many miracles are going on in your life right now for you to even be listening to this lecture? You have 2 million things in your eye that make your eye work. You have over 100 trillion connections in your brain. Any one of them faltering during this episode, you could potentially be dead. God makes it easy. He says, walk in my ways. You need to be charitable. You need to be merciful. You need to be kind. You have to, have you ever just sat down and tried to think about who God is and what his power is? You ever just taken a seed and put it in the ground and a few months later, there's just a beautiful orange tree there? Why did the Russians, they used to, they put a sign over the cribs, like in communist Russia back in the day, like way back in the day. On the, like on the cradle, right after a baby was born, that said there is no God. Why? Because at a time in your life when Hashem is so obvious, you have semen and you have an egg, and then, 40 weeks later, you have a kid, you have a child with, again, hundreds of trillions of connections in the brain, and eyes that work, God willing. We're so mortal and we're so finite. We have no cognizance of who Hashem really is. Someone like the Kotzker Rebbe did. What did he say? I never wanted to serve a God whose ways would be understandable. Meaning, I say this all the time, Hashem wants us to know everything that he wants us to know. Anything that we don't know is something not for us. It's just not for us. Have you ever told your kid or it doesn't concern you. It's just not your, the mailman comes up to the office as the boss and the CEO are talking. It's like, what are you guys talking about? What do you say to him? Sorry, it's above your pay grade. It's none of your concern. You ever been talking as as two parents and a child come, and you're like, what are you talking about? Can you leave the room? This doesn't, I mean, Hashem he's Hashem. What are the problems we have is we don't understand that. God created this entire perfect world. We don't even acknowledge that. If we acknowledge that, there is no way that people would live life like they do. Getting up, going to work, hating their job, coming home, vegging out, watching TV, drinking beer, doing the same exact thing day after day for the next 40 to 50 years. Never one time asking, well, if a bottle was created for a purpose, why am I created? My opinion on what makes Hashem so amazing is that he has managed to hide himself in the world to such an extent that any person rationally thinking for even 10 seconds in their life, there's no such thing as an atheist. I'm sorry. There is no such thing as an atheist. Yet, so many people claim to be. So many people that, even Jews, that tell me openly, I know that there's a God. I believe in God. Okay, do you keep Shabbos? No. How's that possible? Because Hashem has created such a perfect world that he is so cloaked and hidden. You literally need to spend an entire lifetime seeking him out, learning about him. This quote probably is the most deep of all the quotes, but I think it's the most beautiful. Who would want to serve a God that we base our whole life? I mean, if you're an observant Jew, you're basing your entire life on this Hashem. Why would you want this God to be anything other than what we say that he is? In davening and in the text and the Talmud. Why would we want someone ordinary or basic or understandable? Who would want that? You know, I'm a good golfer. So growing up, I wanted to be the best. Who would want to go to a mediocre golf teacher? You want to go to the best. But imagine if you could have Tiger Woods giving you information. Imagine gleaning information from the best golfer ever. But then imagine having a relationship with Hashem. Imagine that level. He's not human. Take the best human at whatever task they've ever done, and then just infinitely greater than that is Hashem. Why would you want a God that is basic and ordinary and someone that you can relate to, and not someone that, what's the whole point? Yiras Shamayim, we've been talking about this, fear of Hashem, not just fear of punishment, awe. We're supposed to be in awe of Hashem. We're supposed to see the sun come up and set, a tree being planted, a child being born, and just be absolutely in awe of this creator. And then wonder, oh my gosh, I was created, specifically me. I must have value. I must have worth. I must have a purpose. And then spend the rest of your life trying to figure out what that is. This next one's great. I is a thief which must be banished from the heart. I is like Scrabble with, what's the guy that did Scrabble? Anyway, he'd always repeat things twice. I is a thief which must be banished from the heart. What an awesome... Again, I hope you understand how amazing these quotes are, because I don't think any other Rebbe has more quotes, just one-liners than the Kotzker Rebbe. I is a thief which must be banished from the heart. What do we have just an endless amount of in modern times? iPhone, iPad, everything's me, I. I is a thief which must be banished from the heart. Meaning, what do I keep saying? What's the first step to get into the building, right? Fear of Hashem is on the ground floor. What's the first step to actually get into the humility? What's humility? Taking the I out of the equation, being humble, realizing that the whole world doesn't revolve around us, that we were put in a family, community, social settings to be benefits to those around us. When the entire world revolves around I, it's a big problem. Selfish, arrogance, pride, anger. What's anger? Anger is the world is not functioning like I want it to. What's pride? I have an exalted role in this world. What's arrogance? I was the one that did this thing. What's selfish? What I want matters. All of these quotes, all of these characteristics are considered evil in Judaism. It all stems from one thing. We value ourselves far more than we value Hashem. That's literally what it is. When I got out of jail and I started learning with my rabbi, and I've told this many times, but I'm going to keep telling it because it's so important. I said to him, I've lived exactly how I've wanted to for the last 27 and a half years. Yet I'm miserable. I'm potentially facing 15 to 30 years in jail. I can't understand how I, who have been doing everything that I want and the whole world revolves around me, am miserable, yet you, who seemingly has a very constricting lifestyle, is so happy. By everyone's account, anyone that I've talked to that knows you says you are the most simchadik person in the world. What am I missing? And he said, only Hashem could have given the Jewish people the Torah. When you can prove that to yourself, you're going to live exactly like I do. What was the first step? Just removing the I from the heart. Do I want to eat lobster every day? Yeah, I do. Hashem doesn't want me to. Would I like to go out to the bar and, take home the hot girl at the bar? I can't do that because he doesn't want me to. All these things in your life, say them out loud. Say the things in your life that if there were no restrictions, you would do now. And then realize you just can't. I is a thief. Yes. And then just say, but Eliakim, like almost in every lecture, you talk about how important I is. Yes, you can't do anything in this world without I, without the good I, tapping into who you are. Like I'm telling my friend, you're filled with simcha. You fill other people's lives with simcha. If you're not tapping into the true you, some people are just jolly, happy-go-lucky. Other people aren't. They have a different talent. The first step is seeing why Hashem created you. Why were you created? Why did Hashem take the time to imbue you with this particular look, this particular height, this particular color, this particular character trait? You're, great with this, but you're terrible with this. Yes, the world can't exist without you. That's what we say. But once you can internalize that, meaning the world can't exist without me because I am essential to the fabric of the world, not just to myself, things can change. Once I realized that Hashem mattered more than me, life became a lot easier. Once you realize that your child comes before, I'm sure if anyone out there has an employee or you're sitting there doing something and you don't want to be bothered. Child comes in, Abba, can I have, a juice box? Yeah, maybe the last thing that you'd like to do, I would like to do, is get up from what I'm doing, put down my book, and go get the juice box. The world doesn't just revolve around us. Yes, we have to understand that we are essential to the world. We say this on Yom Kippur. Before I was born, I was nothing, right? I was literally nothing. I didn't exist. I was nothing. It wasn't even like, before you were a figment of our imagination. No, you were nothing. And now that you exist, This is what Rava says, right? And now that you exist, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, if you're not fulfilling your purpose, if you're not acting in the manner that Hashem commands you to act, what use does the world have for you? You have to understand Hashem created you for a reason, meaning you have so much power and potential and opportunity. Once you can internalize that, that's when you get past the I and you start being a benefit and a service to yourself, to the world around you, and specifically to Hashem. This one's great. Yeah. What just happened at that Coldplay concert, right? The CEO of Astronomer, I mean, it's $1 billion company. So I would like to think that the CEO is making a lot of money. Had a wife, has a wife, probably by the time you watch this lecture, had a wife, 3 kids, I believe. He was caught at the Coldplay concert hugging and being touchy-feely with his head of HR, right? And at the Coldplay concert, they literally put this couple on the screen, and now the entire world is literally talking about and making fun of this couple. At every sporting event now, they're like catching people hugging, and everyone's doing the same reaction that this, that these philanderers did to like make fun of them. He just resigned from the company. His wife basically just, is on the path to divorce him. She's also the one that he was, hugging. She's also married. That's the amount of lives that are ruined because of this one act is almost mind-blowing. I mean, these people drove to the concert that night thinking, this is going to be great, we'll have a fun night, go home, we'll have an affair. No one will be the wiser. Now, literally, the entire world. I mean, there's multiple billions of people that know. What's the quote from the Kotzker Rebbe? If you need to hide something, something is wrong. Right? Something is wrong. A secret is a terrible burden. Keeping a secret can indeed be a significant source of stress, impacting both mental and physical well-being. The psychological burden of secrecy can lead to feelings of anxiety, guilt, shame, and specifically depression. Moreover, the effort required to maintain a secret can be emotionally and physically draining, potentially leading to social isolation and decreased overall well-being. If there's something in your life that you currently need to hide, there's something wrong with your life that needs fixing. I don't care what the secret is. If you are holding in a secret that is getting to the point where it is, a lot of secrets take over your life, Something is wrong, the Kotzker Rebbe. And again, an easy comment. You probably hear this in different places. But when the Kotzker Rebbe says it, it's coming from such depths of wisdom. If there's something in your life that you're not proud of or that you did wrong and you're hiding this from other people, something's wrong. One specific thing is wrong here. You're afraid of people, you're not afraid of Hashem. Right? We talked about this the other day. Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai, on his deathbed, he said to his students, usually the last words you have in your life are, very impactful to the people that, love you, look up to you, depend on you. So when Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai, one of the biggest rabbis ever, said to his students, may the fear of Hashem get to the point where it's equal to your fear of people. And the students were stunned. And they said, what? Not more? He said, if only you could even approach that level, where your fear of God is greater than your fear of people. What is the first thing when these two people, when they were on the Jumbotron and they got caught, they were ashamed. They weren't ashamed to do it in secret. Hashem's watching. Now, billions of people found out, right? Hashem said, you're not afraid of me? Okay, here. Boom. Billions of people now know these two clowns, right? If you need to hide something, something's not only wrong with you that, something's going on in your life. Something is wrong also that you have a terrible perception of the world. When you go into your room and you do something in private and you lock the doors, you shut the shades, whatever you're doing, you're hiding it. You're nervous that whatever you're doing will be found out. Well, something is wrong. Clearly there's something in your life that's wrong that is leading you to do this act. But the bigger problem is you're not afraid of Hashem. You have no Yiras Shamayim. And we've talked so many times recently, especially in the last few lectures, that fear of God is literally, first of all, Hashem says to Moshe, you need to tell the Jewish people that I only expect of them fear of God. Only to fear Hashem, it says. Meaning, you'll spend your whole life and you'll constantly be working on this and you'll never get to this level. Because the rabbi said, only this? Not like a laundry list of things to do? No. If you look at this, it is so brilliant. If you're hiding something, something is wrong. It's on two levels. Something's wrong in your life, but even greater, something is wrong with your outlook on Judaism, on Hashem. How Hashem, if you don't understand that just like when your boss creeps into the office, HR jokes aside here, when your boss comes in the office, you get nervous. You're clearly typing more diligently. You're pretending like you've got 80 things going on so that your boss doesn't think that you've just been playing Wordle for the past hour. You do all these things. You keep all these secrets. You don't think Hashem knows? Hashem knows everything going on in your life. So the fact that you're going to such lengths to hide this web of lies that you've created for yourself, but you don't care about Hashem, it's a big, big problem. And that's what the Kotzker Rebbe is trying to elucidate here. This is a good one. I never regretted telling the truth. I never regretted telling the truth. Rav Yossi in the Gemara, the famous Rav Yossi, one of Rabbi Kiva's 5 Talmidim, he said, I never said anything behind someone's back that I wouldn't say to their face. Meaning, truth matters. He never regretted telling the truth, no matter what. Again, Kotzker Rebbe had a uncanny knack for Emes, to the point where, like I quoted, he was known for being very intolerant of stupidity and false piety. Meaning anything that deviated from Emes in his life, he could not tolerate. Was that why he just secluded himself for the next, the last 20 years of his life? Maybe. I would think it's probably very hard for someone that basically walks a path in life that not for 1 second they ever veer away from the truth, to be around people that also don't live that way. He was a Rebbe of thousands and tens of thousands of Talmidim. So constantly having people that come in and are telling you things and in your head exactly what the person needs to do. But like you said, I can't force them to do anything. I can tell them what not to do. What they need to do, they need to grasp themselves. You tell someone what to do, they start doing it. But if they don't know why they're doing it, they don't have any passion for doing it, they don't have any, intellectual capacity to understand, the benefit and the purpose of doing it, it's going to fade away. They're going to end up not doing that. That's what he's trying to say. This one's, I never regretted telling the truth. Do you think the Kotzker Rebbe was just walking up to girls and saying, hey, you're fat? Never. What he meant was he never regretted telling people the truth of Hashem. He never regretted telling someone, you're not supposed to drive to shul on Shabbos. You're not supposed to do X and Y. He never regretted that. Oh, but Kotzker Rebbe, you might turn people off. No. What does the Rambam say? Rambam says, there's a speech in front of 10,000 people, basically. 9,999. get turned off. One superb Jew becomes just like a Kotzker Rebbe, worth every second of it. That's the goal here. He never regretted not deviating from Hashem. If people can't handle it, that's on them. You don't bend the truth to make people feel good. Perfect example. Every time someone dies now, they're dying al Kiddush Hashem, right? You hear this all the time. Soldier just died al Kiddush Hashem. He's in the highest place of heaven. Everyone at the Nova party, they died al Kiddush Hashem. They're in the highest place of heaven. They're next to Rabbi Akiva. That is false. That is unequivocally false. There's no source for that. It's also stupid to think that. Might be comforting, but we don't base our Judaism based on comfort. We don't hide the truth to make people feel good. We tell them the truth. There's a truth, the Torah. When Hashem says, a man shall not lie with a man as he lies with a woman, it's an abomination. We don't say, we can finesse that one a little bit, in modern times. That's always in modern times. Well, our branch of Judaism doesn't do that really. No, we're a lot more tolerant too. No, that's not truth. That's not truth. That's sheker. That is evil. Truth is good. Emes is good. If we know that Hashem is good, everything Hashem does is good, and we know that Hashem's seal is Emes, truth, then we know that truth is good. So the absence of truth, by definition, therefore, is evil. Are there times where you can bend the truth? Sure. Hashem literally did it in the Torah. When Sarah said, my husband's old. I'm old and my husband's old. What did Hashem say to Abraham? Sarah said she's old. He didn't say, oh, you're also old, Abraham. He bent the truth. There's specific examples where you can do that. Kotzker Rebbe is saying, I never regretted illuminating Hashem's truth to the world, no matter how inconvenient it was to this person's life. What if I told my friend the other day who said, I'm very unhappy in life right now. What if I said, you know what? Gosh, you're suffering. Yeah, man. If that Russian girl likes you, and yeah, go for it. What kind of a disgusting person would I be? That just because I don't have the fortitude to see someone suffering, I have to just desecrate the Torah and tell him to do it as well? We don't do that. No, the Kotzker Rebbe says, I never regretted telling the truth. Not one time. This is great. This is great. Okay. Number 7. The body finds it easier to accept all kinds of suffering than to accept the yoke of heaven. Oof. Gosh, this is like fire. The body finds it easier to accept Chuck Woolery. That's the guy. Chuck Woolery always read things twice on Scrabble. Okay. The body finds it easier to accept all kinds of suffering than to accept the yoke of heaven. Literally, I say it again. First question I asked the rabbi. Actually, second question. First question I asked the rabbi was, what do I have to do to be a good Jew? Thank God he told me the truth. He said, you have to keep Shabbos. He said, that's the breaking line. There. That was telling the truth. And I said to him, Shabbos is like on Saturday, right? Yeah. I said, I've got a conflict. What, work? No, college football. He just laughed. He said, are you serious? I said, yeah. He said, so tape it the day before. Watch it after. He said, I have a feeling it's going to end up not being an issue for you at all, but, tape it. I said, yeah, it's like a good point. What does the yoke of heaven mean? The yoke of heaven means, Mr. and Mrs. Jew, I put you in this world. You have free choice to do whatever you want at all times. But to succeed in this world and to merit the next world, that the Kotzker Rebbe just had no problem dying because he knew, I'm going to leave this room and go to an even better room. Those are his exact words. He said, what's the problem with dying? You leave one room and you go to an even better room. That's how he lived. Dying was nothing for him. Dying was nothing. He knew how the world worked. What's the yoke of heaven? When you're a Jew, the yoke of heaven is the Torah. The yoke of heaven is, okay, you might be from Framingham, Massachusetts, Eliakim. You might love lobster. You might love shrimp. Might have been 3 to 4, nights a week food here, but you're not going to eat it anymore if you want to be a good Jew. Okay. Was I thrilled? No. Do I walk past the seafood thing now at Publix when I'm going to get kosher stuff and see that lobster tail and think, gosh, I could dip that in butter right now. That'd be so good. Sure. And Rav Noach Weinberg from Aish says, you're supposed to say these things out loud. You're supposed to tell people, this is what I gave up to be religious. I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I don't do what I want at all times. I'm proud of that. Makes you a strong person. It makes you someone that understands life. It makes you someone that puts Hashem first. Do I put Hashem first always? No. No. Do I want to? Yes. I want to be perfect. I want to be a perfect Jew. How do you become a perfect Jew? You accept the yoke of heaven. I didn't create this world. If I created this world, maybe I would create it differently, but I didn't. I was created into this world. I mean, you think this water bottle says, gosh, I wish I was a little bit more robust in the bottom. No. The bottle was created. End of story. It serves its purpose. The yoke, what is the yoke of heaven? The yoke of heaven is just telling you, someone might have cut you off. You can't just go and kill the guy. I mean, a lot of people do that. It's because there's no Yiras Shamayim in the world. What's the yoke of heaven? The yoke of heaven is understanding that I was created by a creator. Obviously, the creator created me for a specific purpose. The creator then gave me a handbook known as the Torah, and I now need to, my life is now basically in the fence of this Torah. Can I do whatever I want at all times? Yes. Hashem can never stop you from... What's the one thing Shlomo Melech says? What's the only thing in your grasp? To fear Hashem and do His commandments. Meaning, you have 100% ability to not fear Hashem and not do His commandments. Clearly, these 68% of Jews that now think that you do not even need to believe in God to be a good Jew, and the 72% of American Jews that are intermarrying, clearly they are exercising and exacerbating that free will. End of story. And people say, oh, you're brainwashed, Eliakim. I'm brainwashed? Really? I get up in the morning like a robot and my hand just automatically wraps the fill-in? No. I choose to accept the yoke of heaven because I have a much better understanding of how the world works than most people, and clearly a much better understanding than I did January 4th, 2008 on my car chase on cocaine from police. I choose to do this. I'm not brainwashed. I'm not in a cult. The body finds it easier to accept all kinds of suffering than to accept the yoke of heaven. If you would understand why I chose these 8, if you go back and you watch this 2, 3, 4 times, you'll understand that every single one of these quotes is intertwined with every other one. What's accepting the yoke of heaven? Getting the I, banishing the I from your heart, letting Hashem in. They're all connected. I mean, everything in Judaism is connected. But these specifically, a word that came out of the Kotzker Rebbe's mouth was focused. It was purposeful. He didn't just, oh, did you see what, Shlomi wore to the Chapman under the sea ball? No, he doesn't talk like that. His words are very calculated, crafted, right? Accepting the yoke of heaven is admitting that you are not what's important the most. It's very hard for people to do, right? It's very hard to want something, to desire something, and then know you cannot do that. Knowing that you can do that, but you won't do that. Who's strong? Pirkei Avos says, who's strong? Someone that can control their desires. Who's rich? Someone that is happy with their portion. Someone that understands Hashem created the world. He created the Torah. It's like a fence for me, for my own benefit, right? I mean, doesn't a car come with a manual? I mean, inside this manual is the best way to operate car. You can choose. Okay. Manual says, I have a Bugatti, right? Let's say I have a Bugatti. I don't have a Bugatti. Let's say I had a Bugatti. And it said, you need an oil change every 200 miles. Well, in a regular car, it's every 2,000 miles. So if I said, okay, the Bugatti manual says every 200 miles, but, I used to have a Hyundai, and no, your Bugatti is not going to work at its peak. Your Bugatti says you need a certain kind of gas. You fill it up with 87. Your Bugatti is not going to work at its peak performance. So Hashem created you. Most people, have gotten to that point. Most people also think now that, after watching these lectures, that Hashem created you for a purpose. He gave you one instruction manual. I'd like to think that every single person that is watching this episode has at least one time in their life gotten something new and read the manual, even for just one little thing that they don't understand. Well, Hashem created the Jewish people. He gave us the Torah. The Torah is our manual for life. We can disregard it our whole lives if we want to, and many do. And at some point, they will find out that is, that they just wasted a life. It is literally a wasted life. At the end, I'll give the example of what that is. The yoke of heaven is not a burden. It is the cognizance. It is the understanding that the builder of you knows how you work best. Why kosher food, right? Two reasons. Well, many reasons, but I'll give you two. One is to keep us away from the Gentiles. We're not supposed to be at the baseball game. It's not beautiful now that there's kosher hot dog stands at the Yankee games. We're not supposed to be at the Yankee games. The other reason is because it's food for the soul. It's not food for us. It's food for the soul. When you eat non-kosher food, you do very dumb stuff. You become spiritually dull. You end up making stupid decisions. You say stupid things. You have dumb behavior. That's what kosher food is. So, just like the creator of the Bugatti knew that he needs premium, special gas. You can't just go into a normal gas station and fill up a Bugatti. You need something special. So to Hashem, when he created the Jewish people with the highest level of soul, because we accepted the Torah, he created our handbook. You can ignore it your whole life, and you'll be like the person in my example at the end. At number 8, my favorite quote, probably in all of Judaism, and I've said this numerous times. He who doesn't see Hashem everywhere isn't capable of seeing him anywhere. Again, Chuck Woolery. He who doesn't see Hashem everywhere is not capable of seeing him anywhere. It's also, dovetails with the first one. Where's God? Wherever he's allowed in. If you can't see Hashem in every single aspect of life, you will not be able to see him anywhere, and you will always question the littlest bumps in the road, and they will derail you for the rest of your life. I'll give you a perfect example. I needed to fill out something, for some scholarship thing in Florida, so that they give, they give amazing scholarship money for private schools. Every kid gets it. So to fill something out, had to be done urgent. So my dad said, I don't really know how to download the PDF so fast, so let's just go to whatever it was, like the UPS store. They'll do it there. As we're pulling in, I get out, and there's this guy that's holding open a door to a restaurant. And I'm, walking by, and he says, oh, you're not coming in? I said, no. And then he says to me, Shalom Aleichem. And I said, Aleichem Shalom. He just starts talking about his bar mitzvah and, that just all these different things. Shows me his name tags, Shmuel, Samuel, something. We could have pulled in 30 seconds before, 30 seconds after. Never would have had this interaction. Why did God specifically work it out that this specific guy was opening the door? Why? Because I touched something in his soul, Jewish-wise. You see someone with a kippah, and sits hanging out, and all of a sudden he just felt the need to talk about his bar mitzvah, talk about growing up. He used to go to Hebrew school and all these things. I was the means, the vessel for Hashem to flicker something in the sky. Feels good to be used as a vessel for good. A lot of people are used as a vessel for bad. I saw Hashem there. I mean, obviously Hashem's everywhere. But to see Hashem in even the mundane, even like, okay, a guy held open the door. Could have been anybody, you know? Could have been a ball player. Could have been an actor. Could have been, you know, a 389-pound illegal that, you know, maybe thought I was an ICE agent. It was this specific Jew that just, boom, just a floodgates of Jewish memories came back to him. He might not have even thought about anything Jewish for the past 50 years until he saw me. Well, he needed to see me. Why? Because Hashem wanted him to see me. I recognized that. I mean, my dad was like a little blown away. He said, that was interesting. I said, yeah, Baruch Hashem. So, you know, we pulled up at the perfect time. 30 seconds before, 30 seconds after. We never would have had that, you know, interaction. If you can't see God everywhere, in every aspect of life, when you get your raise, oh, I really put in the effort. Your boss tells you, you've been putting in such hard. No, Hashem decided on Rosh Hashanah you're going to make more money, right? So you put in your effort, probably more than you needed to, and you got a raise, right? Did you see God there? Or are you only going to see God when you get canned the next year? Where's God? Where's God? It's not fair. Poor me. You know, pity party. Do you see God in just the good, but not the bad? Or do you see Hashem everywhere? Like my wife. Every aspect of the cancer, no matter how bad it got, was always Baruch Hashem. Everything happens for a reason. So, incredible level to get on. I mean, I marveled at it every day. I literally saw someone wasting away that did not let it affect anything. Miscarriage. I mean, usually it's the women that are in the... I just was crying like a baby. Just literally could not stop. 15, 20 minutes sitting on the couch, just devastated. Comes right over, puts her arm around me. Everything Hashem does is for the good. That's all I needed to hear. I know that. I mean, I know that. But I didn't know it then. And that's a problem. I'm supposed to know that all the time. Right? Because what if that didn't comfort me? What if Hashem, you know, I love you 99.9% of the time, but I have a real problem with you on this. Then what happens? Just your Judaism, your life just starts crumbling. It's like a sandcastle that just gets, you know, blown away. If you can't see that Hashem runs this world and every aspect of your life, you will end up not being able to see Hashem anywhere. You're not going to give him credit for all the good things in your life, and you're only going to start pushing the blame for all the bad things in life. That's just how we were created. It is a daily, you know, hourly, minute, second struggle to constantly keep Hashem in front of us. Like who? Like the Kotzker Rebbe. Kotzker Rebbe, I don't know if there's anyone in the last few hundred years that's had a tragedy like the Kotzker Rebbe. I mean, I'm sure of different families in the Holocaust. But this is the one that I know of. Kotzker Rebbe lost his 11 children and his wife in the Holocaust. He made it through the concentration camps, came to America, got remarried, had 6 children. Someone came into him once that had just lost a child, Lo and Lenu. And the Kotzker Rebbe was crying with the man. And then the man felt guilty. And he said, I'm so sorry, Rebbe. I'm so sorry. We should be crying for you. Kotzker Rebbe said, why? Why would you cry for me? He said, we're sitting here like mourning over my one child, and you lost 11 kids. You're way worse shape than me. Kotzker Rebbe said, what are you talking about? He said, I'm crying for you because of empathy. I'm putting myself in your shoes. I don't have anything to cry about. Everything that Hashem does is good, and everything Hashem does is for a reason. He was unflappable. Does it mean he was a heart of stone? No. Do you think he misses his children? Of course. But much like the Kotzker Rebbe, he understood how life works. He understood that this is a finite world leading to the infinite. And that's how he lived every second of every day. He saw Hashem just as much and the murder of his 11 children and his wife than he did, building the Sans community in Netanya and rebuilding life on the ashes of the Holocaust. When you can get to the point where Hashem is he's just a constant in your life, life will change forever. And then the goal is, okay, Hashem's a constant in my life 80% of the time. You need to get to 90. Then you need to get to 95. Then you need to get to the point where you're like the Kotzker Rebbe, that literally his entire life was living with Hashem. I want to end with a story. It's not a real story. I'm sure it could have happened before, but there's a guy struggling in life, just, financially, physically, everything's hard for him. He says, imagine how much better my life would be if I just won the lottery. Goes out, buys a lottery ticket, puts it in his back pocket, just forgets about it. Well, 5 days later, they announce, this guy won. He won $1 billion. Guy forgets about the lottery ticket. He was 30 years old at the time. Continues to live, struggling, job after job, health goes downhill. He's bitter, he's frustrated, he takes his angst and his hatred and everything out on other people. 80 years old, he's on his deathbed, 85, on his deathbed. His kids come in, he's just so bitter. His son comes up and says, Abba, I'm cleaning out the stuff here. I see this lottery ticket. You ever remember getting a lottery ticket? Guy says, yeah. He says, well, let's try to check. What if? Types it in, sees, guy won the lottery, right? Obviously it expired. What do you think this guy's reaction is going to be? 85 years old, struggled so much through life. His whole life was work, just miserable, bitter. His dream, obviously, like many people, to win the lottery. What do you think this guy's reaction is going to be close to death at 85? Imagine the horror that this guy is now feeling, that he basically just wasted the last 55 years. Well, the reality of this world, and that's what I'm here to tell people, is the reality of the world. You can, think I'm crazy. You could think, that there's a different answer, but there's not. Hashem created you with the purpose. He gave you the Torah. There's no, but I'm modern Orthodox, or I'm Reconstructionist. You're Jewish. We're all obligated on the same exact thing. That's just how it is. We are all obligated on the same exact thing. Ignorance is a crime in Judaism. We're all going to live life. We're all going to, for sure, pile up very good mitzvahs, good deeds, tzedakah money, also very bad things. We're going to die. After we die, there's going to be a 12-month trial. Imagine the people out there right now that love Judaism, love being Jewish, love Israel, even claim they know that there's a God. Imagine what's going to feel like when you realize that you basically wasted your entire life. You're like the guy on the bed that found out that at age 30, he could have had a winning lottery ticket and did not. Whatever age you are watching this lecture, if you're not keeping Shabbos, if you're not giving the right amount of tzedakah money, if you're not learning Torah, if you're not fulfilling your purpose, if you're not trying to marry a Jew, all these different things, I'm sorry. I never regretted not telling the truth either. You will be like the person in the story. You will be sitting through your trial with an eternal regret and shame. And at that point, it's too late. Can't go back and say, Hashem, but I didn't know. Yes, you did know. You listened to one of Eliakim's lectures. You live right next to the Chabad shul. You live right next to the Orthodox shul down the street. You could have known. You chose not to. You chose not to invite me in. You chose not to see me everywhere. You chose not to accept the yoke of heaven. All these different beautiful things that the Kotzker Rebbe said. And unfortunately, for the overwhelming majority of the Jewish world, that is just going to be the reality of people's existences. And I cannot think of anything more terrifying, horrifying, and sad and preventable. And that's the whole purpose of me trying to do these lectures, is to tell the people like I used to be. I also used to think I was a great Jew. I'm a great Jew. I go to synagogue on the holidays. I drive there. Big deal. Hashem would much rather have me be in synagogue than... No. You just learn the company policy. You learn the handbook, right? It's not hard. And you'll see the learning part of it is the biggest joy. And you want to learn more. You want to succeed in life. Everyone wants to be good at something. They want to be the best at something. Well, be the best version of you that you can possibly be. That is what the Torah is for. The Torah was handcrafted by Hashem for the Jewish people. All of us. Every single person, no matter how tall, rich, heavy, anything, will have an eternal benefit from learning the Torah. Some people don't have the ability to sit and study X amount of day. So what do? You sponsor lectures. Whatever Lisa is doing right now, she has now earned 80,000 mitzvahs for me giving this lecture. Lisa will then watch every lecture. She's earned another 80,000 mitzvahs. Anyone that is also watching this lecture then goes to her account and to my account. Hashem created the most easy, simplistic world. When you know how it works, when you can tap into it, you will see that the only constant in this world is time. And from the second you're born, the hourglass just goes closer and closer. Don't waste it. Don't be like this poor guy that, has a winning lottery ticket, which you do as a Jew. You're a Jew. You are the highest level of creation. Everything in the world is based on Judaism. It's based on our Torah. There's a reason why we're so hated and so envied. We're the only ones that are called Banim Hashem, that have a connection with Hashem. Use quotes like this from the Kotzker Rebbe, these beautiful quotes, to internalize life and what your purpose is and what your destiny is. I guarantee you, if you take a hard look at yourself, you will say, you know what? I am not doing what I'm supposed to. I am not supposed to just be focused on accruing money, to get the better car, to make my friends jealous, to just look forward to the next vacation, and then just to spend every single night binge watching Netflix. That is not why Hashem gave you trillions of connections in your brain, 2 million things that work in your eye, and an eternal soul that wants nothing but good and holiness. Tap into yourself. First thing you need to do is understand the I. Once you do that, you will then eliminate the I from your heart. You will bring Hashem in. You will love having the yoke of heaven, because you will know that the God that created you as a Jew wants you to fulfill your potential. And the best way to actualize that is through the parameters of the Torah. If anyone would like to sponsor a lecture, if anyone would like to talk Torah, if anyone would like to ask a question, you can always message me. I'm here to help. The most tragic thing in this world is knowing how many Jews, unfortunately, are going to be like this poor man laying in bed that had a winning lottery ticket his entire life, but never took the time to cash it in. It does not have to be you. Understand that Hashem created you for a reason. You're an integral part of this world. There is something incredible inside of you that can just benefit yourself and the rest of the world. And forget about being a light amongst the nations. First, be a light amongst yourself, just like the Chafetz Chaim. He wanted to change the world and realized that he couldn't. So he perfected himself to such a point that he illuminated, he shone so much light and brilliance that the rest of the world, just bask in his glow, and they can do the same to you. You are not going to be asked in the next world, why weren't you a Chafetz Chaim? Why weren't you a Sari Menu? You're going to be asked, why weren't you a Shlomi Moskowitz? Why weren't you a Shlomo Tobin? That's what you're going to be asked. And it all starts with understanding that Hashem comes first. He gave us the Torah, and it's incumbent upon all of us to spend the rest of our life delving into it so that we can perfect ourselves and help the Jewish world around us. Wishing everybody a wonderful, wonderful day.